All right, Raider Nation, I got my draft hat on. I got my draft glasses on. We're going to get into the top 10 draft prospects that the Raiders will have to look at for that number 6 overall pick, and what I think that the Raiders may do and what I think they won't do. So stick around because this is going to be a very fun and entertaining type of guessing video, because at the end of the day, nobody has a crystal ball, and if you did have a crystal ball, it ain't real, because only God knows what's going to happen in the future. Let's get into today's video talking about draft prospects. Now, obviously, the number one athlete in this draft is Travis Hunter, the wide receiver slash cornerback, do-it-all type of a guy. I think he could probably even play quarterback if he wanted to. He is that gifted. He is a generational talent. And I do understand that the Tennessee Titans are likely to take Cam Ward. They are likely to move on from Will Levis and go with the quarterback. But if you're sitting there and you're looking at a guy who is a true generational talent, a freak athlete, a guy like Travis Hunter, do you want to pass up on him and go with Cam Ward, who is a good quarterback? He is my number one quarterback in this draft class. I think he is the best quarterback that is out there for this draft class, but he's not generational. Travis Hunter is. And so I think it is a very good possibility that the Tennessee Titans just cannot resist. And maybe they say, listen, next year's draft class will probably be better than this year's draft class. And so let's wait until next year. Let's give Will Levis another year, and let's give him a freak athlete, number one wide receiver in Travis Hunter, who can also be your number one corner. They may just do that. And if so, that means that Cam Ward will still be on the board for the Raiders to potentially grab. But of course, we're going to talk about Cam Ward a little bit because he is in this top 10 draft class. That means that if Tennessee were to take Travis Hunter, then the Cleveland Browns are back up on the board, and we don't know what the Cleveland Browns are going to do. Are the Cleveland Browns going to move on? Are they going to draft a quarterback this year? Are they going to draft their future in Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders? And which one do they like better? Do you think that if it were Shedeur Sanders, that Dion would allow his son to go to Cleveland, especially when you have Myles Garrett saying, adios, amigos, I'm out of here, trade me now. This team is terrible and going nowhere. I don't think so. And so I'm not convinced that the Browns are going to make a big move. I think if there is a trade partner to be had with the Raiders, it would be the Cleveland Browns. And so the Raiders could move up if they are super, super duper intrigued and want to go quarterback with Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. They could trade with the Browns. But let's just say that the Browns do take Cam Ward, and that is going to make people happy like Myles Garrett, and maybe he retracts his trade statement and maybe sees that the Browns are making the right moves in the right direction and that Deshaun Jackson is just not the guy. And who knows? If that's the case, then we know that we have Cam Ward is off the board. We still have other guys that are really, really good that the Raiders could certainly look at. So that's going to mean you have Abdul Carter is still on the board. You have Will Johnson still on the board. Now let's talk about Abdul Carter. Obviously, we're talking defense, edge rusher. If the Browns trade Myles Garrett, they have to replace him, right? And Abdul Carter is that guy. He is a Micah Parsons clone, literally went to the same college, literally wore the same number 11. He is Micah Parsons 2.0, and you're going to get him for cheap, and you're going to get a premium in the trade market for a Myles Garrett. You're going to get 2 first-round draft picks easily for the defensive player of the year just a year ago. And so this could make sense again as to why the Raiders could finally get a franchise quarterback, because if they trade Myles Garrett, away, then they have to replace him, and that's going to be Abdul Carter, which would still leave Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders on the board. But you also have other guys like Mason Graham, who's a defensive tackle out of Michigan. You have two guys on this board, Will Johnson as well as Graham, defensive tackle and corner for Michigan. That defense was just outlandish. Let's talk about Will Johnson first. We have a little bit of an issue at the corner situation. Really, after Jacorian Bennett and Jack Jones and Nate Hobbs, who we need to get re-signed, the Raiders don't have an elite corner right now, right? We have a couple of guys that we drafted last year. Let's see how they develop. They're just not ready yet for the NFL and that level of play. However, if the Raiders were to draft a guy like Will Johnson at number 6, he is a day one starter. He is a Charles Woodson 2.0 from Michigan, Wolverine. Let's go. Charles Woodson would love this. And he is just phenomenal. One of the things that makes Will Johnson so good is he's not just a ball hawk. He's not just a shutdown corner, but this dude is physical. I mean, when he lays hits on people, they are feeling it for the next several days. And that is something that you just don't see in a lot of corners that are coming into the NFL today. A lot of them don't want to hit. They don't want to be physical. They don't want to risk an injury, or they're just plain out scared, right? And we have corners on our team right now who have been accused of not being physical enough, and it has caused some problems last year. So by getting Will Johnson, you are getting a corner number 1, a guy who is a true corner in the NFL. Is he perfect? No. There are some technique things that he needs to clean up. That he does struggle a little bit on double moves, and wide receivers can get separation, but he does have elite speed enough to catch up and make up for any mistakes that he makes. The big issue with him is he had turf toe. He only played 6 games last year and missed the rest of the season. Now, with turf toe, it is a low probability that will reoccur if it is properly treated. And I believe the fact that he didn't come back and play at all after the first 6 games, does go to show he was 100% concerned about making sure that injury was 1,000% healed, and he will be ready for the NFL. So not too worried about the injury to the turf toe. Again, those usually have a very low probability of reoccurrence. So you could go corner at number 6 if all else fails, but I don't know that you need to do that. To be honest, Jack Jones is a good corner in the NFL, but he has some holes in his game, and he needs to get those things cleared up. Without Antonio Pierce, will Jack Jones be able to thrive? Well, I think if anybody can get to Jack Jones and really get him to play well, I think it's going to be a Pete Carroll. So I'm not worried about Jack Jones. And Jacorian Bennett, issue with him, he's really started to ball out and was doing really well, and then all of a sudden he gets injured again and misses a bunch of games. But if he's healthy, I think we're okay there. And I don't think that we need to go Mason Graham defensive tackle. Obviously, we have Christian Wilkins, so he's not really an issue. If Abdul Carter is there at pick number 6, which would be wild because this dude is a generational player. He is a linebacker converted to defensive end, just like a Khalil Mack and a Micah Parsons. And the dude is phenomenal. I think the Raiders go defense there unless Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders are sitting there at 6, which is a very good likelihood that Shedeur Sanders will fall to 6, and the Raiders will most likely draft him. But let's say Cam and Shedeur are gone. Abdul Carter is there. Abdul Carter is phenomenal. The Raiders should absolutely go and draft him. Obviously, then you have the wide receiver issue. Our wide receiver core is not bad, but we don't have elite wide receiver outside of, obviously, our tight end, Brock Bowers. Yes, Jacoby Myers got his 1,000 yards last year, and Jacoby Myers is a phenomenal Swiss Army knife of a wide receiver, but he is not an elite X receiver, and that's kind of what we're missing right now. Tet McMillan out of Arizona, this dude would absolutely do that. He's a big body, deep threat, red zone nightmare, and you combine him with Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker. Now we have an elite wide receiving core for whatever quarterback is going to be at the helm. So I would definitely see the Raiders taking Ted McMillan at number 6 if he's there. But then obviously it all starts with the run game now that we have Pete Carroll. He is very adamant about that. And so we don't have an elite rusher. However, there could very well be a guy named Ashton Jeanty. Boise State, the dude is a human pinball, bounces off of everybody and just scores touchdowns. He is hard to stop, and he would be hard to pass up on because he is one of those generational running backs that just don't come around. I know people say, well, hey, you can just, running backs are good. I even was watching my guy Sanjeet, and I got to disagree with Sanjeet on this one. He said that, Josh Jacobs is a good running back. Okay, well, you know what? We have good running backs. Amir Abdullah, he's a good running back, but we didn't have a single guy get over 1,300 yards. Josh Jacobs last year got over 1,300 yards as soon as he leaves the Raiders. So I would argue to say that Josh Jacobs is a better than good running back. I'd say he's a great running back, especially when he's 100% healthy and on a team that is trying to win things. So having a great running back actually makes a very big difference, and Ashton Jeanty would certainly fit that bill for the Raiders. Would the Raiders take him at pick number 6? It is risky because obviously you're not going to get the longevity out of a first-round draft pick from a running back that you would get anywhere else on the team or positions. But again, when you're talking about a Barry Sanders 2.0, do you pass up on it? Let me ask you this, to all my Madden players out there, have you ever cheated on your Madden game and you made a 99 overall player who looks and acts and has all the same traits of Barry Sanders, and you just ran the ball and the guy's getting like 400 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns a game on Madden? Well, yeah. That's basically what we have with Ashton Jeanty. You don't pass on him if he's there. It would be a hard decision, but I would certainly not be upset getting to watch Ashton Jeanty just pinball around the NFL and scoring touchdowns against the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Chargers, and whoever else we may face. So Ashton Jeanty, definitely a top 10 guy. Something that the Raiders would absolutely have to take a look at. Malachi Starks is another guy out of Georgia, safety. This dude is a wrecking ball out there, super physical safety, very good player, and he is a big playmaker. Now, listen, we're going to possibly lose Trayvon Merrick. Marcus Epps, definitely going to lose him. And so we need to have a true dominant safety. So the Raiders could go safety here, and this dude would certainly come in and be a day one starter and fill that position. Now, hopefully we are able to re-sign Moring at least. I would love to see Trey Taylor get out there and start getting his in. Palomau, obviously very serviceable dude, and I think he'll only get better with another year under his belt. Love to get him back out there on the field as well. But if all else fails, Starks would certainly fit that bill at pick number 6. Let's move on to another guy that I've made a whole video about, and this is James Pierce Jr., edge rusher out of Tennessee. The dude is phenomenal. I know I say that a lot about a lot of different things, but when I'm saying it about James Pierce Jr., this dude reminds me so much of a Khalil Mack in his rushing style. He is physical. He is fast. He has extremely good arm and hand fighting technique. He has great bend. I think that, as a true edge rusher, he's probably even better than Abdul Carter, right? Abdul Carter gives you more versatility because he's an outstanding linebacker and an outstanding defensive end. But I think as far as a pure defensive end, if you were to go with James Pierce Jr., this dude is a sure shot. Day one, he's going to be the starter. And this means that, if Malcolm Kuntz is gone, we're not able to re-sign him, which I want the Raiders to do. But let's say he's gone, and you are looking to add more dominance on that side of the ball with our great Max Crosby. You could not go wrong with a James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. The dude will be phenomenal. So that's my wrap up of the top 10 prospects, guys. Let me know how you feel about that. Is there anybody on here that you think should be in there? Should a Jackson Dart be in this conversation as a top 10 guy? Dylan Gabriel be a top 10 guy? Anybody else that you think should be in the top 10? Drop your comments down below. Let me know. Guys, make sure that you join me for the Super Bowl tomorrow, where we'll be cheering on the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the hated Chiefs. I know they're going up against the refs, and the task is a tall order, but let's hope that the Chiefs do not three-peat. I don't want to see it. I will absolutely throw up in my mouth and the garbage can if the Chiefs win another Super Bowl. So let's go. Hopefully the Philadelphia Eagles will beat them. Join us over there, because we're going to be giving away a $1,000 prize in a Everly stock gift bag with a bunch of goodies stuffed in it, just for one guy who, or gal, who signs up over at Black Rain Official. Link is down in the description. Sign up for our email mailing list for our newsletter, and you will automatically be entered to win. The winner will be announced during the Super Bowl tomorrow. Let's go Raiders!